Welcome back to the Leadership Match. Today I'm joined by Felicia Pizzonia, partner at Ultimate Publishing House and a book publishing expert who helps entrepreneurs, doctors, executives, and thought leaders turn their ideas into books, intellectual property, branding assets, and global visibility. Felicia has spent more than 2 decades in sales, branding, business development, publishing, and media strategy. She has helped thousands of authors bring their message to the world, create new revenue streams, and use a book as one of the strongest tools for personal and business branding. And I love this topic because I believe a book is more than just pages. It is proof of thought leadership, it is credibility building, and it is a legacy asset. And Felicia, welcome to the Leadership Match. You are also my publisher, so now you're on this
Indeed.
end.
And very good friend, and thank you for
Yes.
having me, Martin. I appreciate it.
No, I think what we're going to talk about, everybody needs to hear. So we'll just jump right into it since this is a short show. So,
Okay.
beyond the title, what experience shaped the way you think about branding and publishing?
Well, the beauty of it is, Martin, spending more than 2 decades and starting off very young in the book publishing business and helping a couple thousand authors bring their books to life, we realize that it's not always about the most successful idea. Very often, it's the idea that is positioned, packaged, and communicated clearly that wins. So I've watched incredible and knowledgeable people remain almost invisible, not because they lacked expertise, but because they hadn't learned how to translate that expertise into a message people could immediately understand. And so that shaped my entire philosophy. Branding is not just your logo or your colors, it's the emotional and intellectual impression people carry away after meeting you. So a published book gives you that impression, that substance, credibility, and longevity. It also helps you attract incredible opportunities.
I agree strongly. Why is a book such a powerful credibility tool for leaders, executives, and I think entrepreneurs for sure?
Definitely, and we should add doctors and
Yes.
various medical professionals as well. And Martin, that's a great question. A book is a portable proof of your thinking. So, in essence, a book is this beautiful vehicle, and the book cover design, color psychology, fontology is everything we include in our program. So, before you ever walk into a boardroom and step onto a stage or meet a client, or appear on media or whatever it is, your book can communicate that experience you have as a point of view and a process with understanding. So imagine two equally qualified executives. One describes what they know in a conversation. The other one has organized their knowledge in a compelling and potentially best-selling book. So that's a massive difference. So a book
Fast.
allows you, to have that authority and to enter that room before you do.
Yeah. That is credibility before you even open your mouth, right there. What mistake do people make when they think about writing a book?
Well, one of the biggest mistakes, and I encounter this daily when I meet with potential authors, whether they're entrepreneurs or medical practitioners and what have you, is they feel, and that's understandable, being a leader, that they got to do it all, that they got to go sit in a forest and start writing, or, Robin Sharma goes to Italy in a hotel room and stays there for 8 months. Well, that's that's not really realistic. I wish we could all go to Italy and write a book for 8 months. But here's the deal: it's not as overwhelming um, as you think. A strong book doesn't start with what do I want to say. It's how may I serve and how may I add value. So your book does not need to contain everything you know. It needs to contain the right knowledge, organized in the right sequence to create a meaningful formation for the reader. So a meaningful transformation for the reader. So don't begin with the blank page. Begin with the transformation. What can I? How do I serve and add value to the potential reader? And at the end of the day, you really don't even have to think of much if you're working with Ultimate Publishing, because we help extract that message. Because you're so busy being you, especially when you're authentic, especially working with someone like you, Martin. We've published The Corporate Matchmaker and Beyond the Title. The beauty of working with someone with you, you're a powerful leader. However, you're also coachable. And you are also a confident, humble human, which is a beautiful thing. So
Thank
we
you.
helped you through the process, extract your wisdom and say, hey, Martin, what about this and what about that? And here we are with two incredible branding tools. Both of your books are outstanding.
Absolutely. And bestsellers, thanks to you.
It
um,
Collaborative effort for sure, but I appreciate it.
how, how should someone know whether their idea is strong enough to become a book?
Well, that is instead of asking whether the idea is big enough, I would ask three useful questions. Who specifically needs this message? What problem does it help them solve? And what will they understand or believe or do differently after reading my book, or your book rather, or whose ever book? So if you can clearly identify the reader, the problem, and the transformation, you probably have the beginning of a book. And again, the beauty of Ultimate Publishing, we have all of this in a process, so that way you can focus on what you're good at and you delegate the rest to us. So the repeated questions that are often repeated questions that you're often asked, Martin, are clues pointing towards your intellectual property, your
Mhm.
book.
And speaking of intellectual property, you talk about that. What does that really mean beyond simply publishing?
Well, you see, the physical book is your container. The intellectual property is the engine inside of it. So, a well developed book can contain original frameworks, methods, language, stories, assessments, all that good stuff, even a certification program. And that is why I encourage authors to stop thinking only about selling individual copies and book sales, but the larger value by which may be the ecosystem of opportunity built around the book, like a companion journal, a course. There's a bunch of things, even a potential docu-series. So the question becomes, how many meaningful ways can this knowledge serve people in a published book?
Got it. And how can a book create more visibility, trust, and business opportunity?
Visibility gets you discovered, so trust gets you chosen. A strong book, Martin, can help create both. So, a published book gives the media a reason to interview you and provides event organizers with a topic to feature. So that gives your potential clients and or patients a deeper experience of your thinking and creates valuable content for podcasts such as this one, articles and media and presentations. So most importantly, it reduces the amount of time you spend introducing yourself. So you're working smarter rather than harder. And a strategically positioned book doesn't merely create readers, it creates conversations, followers, relationships, and endless opportunities.
That's awesome. And what separates a book that becomes a strong brand asset from one that just sits online?
Great question, Martin. The difference is brand activation. So I can give you my business card, or I could say, by the way, here's my published book. And then saying, here's one of my best selling books. I personally have authored 12, and a few are bestsellers. And so when you do that, in certain countries, they roll out the red carpet for you, in the UK and so forth. And so many people treat a book as the golden key to open up endless doors. So it allows a clear positioning where you're not just a published author, but you're the brand of choice because of the perception, and perception's people's reality.
Now, this is a really good question right here. You've had the opportunity to work with Bob Proctor. What did that teach you about mindset and opportunity?
Well, that's a great question. And, Bob Proctor was like a grandfather to me. And one of the things I realized with Bob was the deepest lessons is I took from him was 20 years of mentorship was the awareness alone does not change our results. Awareness must become your new choice. That choice must become repeated action. You feel it in your heart, you see it in your mind's eye, and it becomes precipitated thought. So people often want a larger opportunity, but the self image may not be calibrated to that identity. So, in layman's terms, you got to feel it, become it. Kind of like, Stefania became Lady Gaga. Marilyn Monroe, that was her avatar. So, like feeling and writing down a description of who you want to become. So, who must I become for the next level to feel natural? You don't attract an extraordinary future while continually rehearsing an outdated identity. So you don't want to be part of that cult of mediocrity. You want to live an extraordinary life. And so you got to become that person. How would that person behave? What conversations would they have? Where would they hang out? What habits do you need to get rid of? And that's truly what Bob taught me and what I live.
Awesome. Now I know the answer to this next question because I asked it, but I think everybody needs to hear it. For a busy executive who says, I don't have time to write a book, what would you tell them?
Well, I would tell them that's amazing because that's one of the reasons why we're in business. So you could delegate it to us. The key to anything, and especially with with Ultimate Publishing House is the process. So although you're busy, we have a process in place where it includes everything you need from A to Z to get the intellectual property, the book written, the book created, designed, and distributed. So a busy executive part of me should not have to disappear for 6 months and become a full-time writer. The book is already living inside you. And with the Ultimate Publishing House, we use an interview-based process to draw that wisdom and knowledge out of you and create the manuscript.
Awesome. Last question, and this is what I feel is the most important one, the action. So, what is one action a leader can take this week to start turning their knowledge into a stronger brand?
Wonderful question, Martin. I authored a book titled Mind Candy, and it's the code to program the subconscious mind. I mentioned that because in that book, there's a mind candy note. So you go into your smartphone, record a 15-minute voice note or mind candy note that you listen to repeatedly, and you ask yourself these questions. Who do I help in my business? What problem do I help them solve? What have I learned through years of experience that could shorten someone else's learning curve? And so don't edit yourself. Just speak from the heart. Speak as though you were advising one person or your best friend who genuinely needs your advice. Then transcribe it and circle the ideas, phrases, and stories that feel uniquely yours. This is where the authentic brand begins, not just with a clever slogan, but with the value only you can articulate from lived experience. So your knowledge becomes valuable intellectual property that eventually becomes your published book.
Love it. And I'm going to add one thing before I wrap this up. In my first book I did with you, The Corporate Matchmaker, first chapter I did, and I don't know how many people do this with you. I actually never asked you, but the first chapter I did was my personal story.
Yes.
I highly recommend people do that because I truly believe, and I tell my personal story on stages all the time, I truly believe that connecting with people through a personal story of resilience, especially, something people really need to hear versus one plus one is two. this is how you do it. We all get motivated from those kinds of things, but that motivation stays for a short time versus when you hear a story, it really motivates you like, oh my gosh, I can totally relate to that. That means if this person succeeded, so can I. So I just want to add that.
Yes, and I remember your story, Martin, and thank you for adding that.
Most people do.
It is very inspiring. That's one of the reasons, like, I already liked you because I liked your vibe. You have a beautiful energy, and but then when I heard your story and, we had the editor involved, we were in tears from the inspiration that was instilled in us. And I remember your beautiful mom and everything. You gotta read the story. You gotta read the book, Corporate Matchmaker. I don't wanna give away
Thank you.
too much, but just truly, truly inspirational. So I'm really grateful for having met you and for this wonderful friendship. And thank you for the opportunity for being on your show.
Absolutely love it. So for the wrap up, this was a great reminder that a book is not just something you publish. It is something you build around. When done right, a book can create credibility. It can open doors, strengthen your brand, and turn your experience into something that serves people long after the first conversation. Felicia, thank you for joining me on the Leadership Match. And to everyone listening, leadership is built one conversation, one connection, and one action at a time. And if this conversation gave you one idea to act on, subscribe, share it with another leader. Don't be selfish. And I'll see you in the next match.